My homies, what up? We're here. I got a special treat for you. Big dog Alex on the mic with me today.
Yeah.
It's never perfect. We know that. Zero preparation going into this conversation, but we're going to hit it real. Actually, I'm kind of excited for this. I put a little thought into this.
Oh, boy.
For y'all that don't know, right, most of y'all are my homies, so you probably already do know, but Alex is a big dork, first off. No, I'm just kidding. Now, Alex and I went to college together, pretty much been best friends ever since. He sucks at golf. He plays probably 5 times a week. I play once a month, and I'm still better than him.
It's debatable.
I'm not. He does suck at golf, but I suck worse. My goal this semester, not semester, what am I, back in college? Just thinking about college with you. Oh, those days. My goal is to get better than him this summer. I joined the local country club next to me. They've got a brand new range.
We could probably do a lot of sessions on just really great golf battles.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't be very PG, but they would be funny.
So Alex runs business development, sales, marketing, the entire front end at Accruity. Shout out Accruity. I'm, of course, wearing that today. And so we travel a lot together now, right? And it's always funny because no matter what, I know I'm getting a text from Alex either, can we figure out how to pull off a golf before the event or after the event? And so every once in a while we do.
I mean, it's great. Like, we get to go to, we've gone to some really nice places. San Diego, Arizona, like Pittsburgh winter. Like, we're going to get out there. Let's try to sneak around in. So it's definitely always in the back of my mind on these. Let's try to sneak around in when we can.
Yeah. So what I want to get into today, Al, is more around kind of a little bit of your journey. Now you're an investor in SteelPoint Capital as well. You're a limited partner, you know, kind of in every single thing that I'm building, but now you live this day-to-day job. Right, you are a W-2 worker and earner, and you're on business development for Accruity. But I think more importantly, where I really want to get much more into, dude, is like, I mean, think about it, right? The world always says don't work with your friends, all those types of things. And so obviously I took a big risk. You took a major risk, kind of leaving a career you weren't significantly happy with, right? Yeah. Give or take. I mean, there was a lot that kind of happened in everything you had been dealing with, but you know, to take a chance to basically come work for your buddy in a role and a position that you never really did or knew how to do. And then the struggles early on of just like, you know, we didn't have all of our quote unquote shit together. You know, so you're basically trying to sell something. You didn't even know what the hell it was. And I'm not even sure we knew what the hell it was, you know, early on. So I want to get into that a little bit more, you know, overall. So why don't we dive in, right? So I think the first thing I really want to ask you, dude, is like, and I don't know that we've talked about this in a long time. We talked about it early on and it went well.
Yeah.
But I want to dive into, like, what's it like working with basically your best friend on a daily basis? And how do you think about how to separate the two and just like the fear that you had of coming in and like...
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And I think it's a very interesting dynamic. And we've found ways to like make it work, which is cool. Like the highs of working with your buddies work is super high. Like when... Think back to like the event we did, Arizona, we traveled out to Scottsdale, we did this event with Spring, the first one we went to. Like we were so amped after that event because we were like, your presentation was killer. I was in the back working the room. We signed like 14 clients on the spot. We're like dapping each other every 10 minutes, like walking by, like this is insane.
Yeah.
I remember then we went out to like, event was over, we're sitting at the bar and we were like, we just absolutely murdered this event. Like we were so amped. So like, the wins you get to celebrate to like a different level. That when you're working with maybe somebody you don't have that tie with, like wins are still wins, but I think they're better when you do that together.
Yeah.
But like we've also done some events like, what was the one we were in Dallas where like one person showed up?
Yeah.
And then we're
not going to talk about that one. We won't throw them under the bus. But yeah,
we sat there and we're like...
We flew out to Dallas for an event. We were told how many people were going to be there.
A couple hundred
people in that event. And then there was like 1,000 people at the overall event. And we showed up and there was one person in the room for the entire day.
Yeah. And then like we were super deflated and we were like trying to book flights to like get home quicker. Yeah. So like then the lows are like, we're sitting at the airport racking our brains. Like, how did this happen? So like, you know, maybe to the same point, like sometimes when things don't go well, like you have a different perspective on it. And like, we've got to definitely draw a line. Like I will be the first to admit, like we kind of had a rough February. I think you and I talked a little bit at the end of the month, like some very pointed feedback, very pointed texts. And I've got to try to separate that. Like, yes, take that as you are the business owner and I have to understand your point of view on those. I can't take any of it personal. And I have to look a lot at myself like, great, listen to this, absorb it, like respect it, but then also still be like, so we're going to dinner with our wives tomorrow?
Yeah.
And that is hard. Like, but I think to that same point, like there's a level of that like, you don't want to let you down, the business
Yeah,
down.
I was gonna try to go into that. So you just led me into it. So that's perfect, right? Because I think you told me this maybe, I don't remember kind of the timeline, right? But it was like, there's this now new level. And I remember, right? Because I went through, I mean, since college, right? I've, from your days of working at Kellogg's.
Yeah.
It was college, right? I remember because you would hang out on the weekends, you'd always bring all the cereals down and whatever else. And then all of your time at SAP, your time at Duquesne, even after Kellogg's for many years. I remember I'd come down there every once in a while.
Well, we audited you guys.
Yeah, you were our auditors.
You guys audited us.
Yeah, we audited you. So we grabbed lunch. Like the entire journey, right? And it's like you've always cared about life differently from work, and it was always just a job to you. And I feel like, flip the switch. How much of it do you think it's because you're working in a business of which you see what we're doing and how we're helping clients, and you see our vision and where we're going, and ultimately, like, is it that, or is it because there's an extra passion because you see how passionate I am and you're working with your buddy and that's what's motivating? Because I do feel like you now feel like it's a career. You're now significantly bought in. You'll work any moment at any time. You'll respond at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, there was never a time you would be doing that for some of your other companies, and not because you didn't want to care and win and work hard. It was just like, it wasn't the main thing in your life, like, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think it gets into like the culture. Like when you're working for these big organizations, like, when I was back in the software world, I was working for these global companies. It's very hard to connect with like this massive company that, they're treating a lot of its numbers, right?
Yeah.
Like,
they don't care about you. Why should you care?
Yeah. I mean, back to my old jobs, like, there was a point in time, like it was phone call from a client we had in London. I was like on a plane to London to go out to Europe to get yelled at for like 5 days by a client. They were producing luxury cars. And in my head, I'm thinking like, I don't really care if another person on this planet ever drives one of these cars. It was really hard to connect from like buying into like what they were doing, because it was just so massive. It was hard to connect. Like now, like with a lot of what we're doing on the Accruity side, like we're truly creating relationships with people. Like we know about like their families, about like the things they do outside of work. You're much more attached to like what they're doing versus some of these massive clients and massive customers that like, they're just there to produce a product that maybe doesn't have the backbone of like what we're trying to do. And so I think from the relationship side, like I've just made a lot of bigger connections that are more personal. I think that fits like my personality better. You've traveled and done enough of these with me. Like I like to talk to people. I like to get to know people.
Yeah, I just want you to shut up sometimes and talking to me.
Fair. But when you're doing these big companies, like that's hard to do. They don't really care about you. It's just production, it's numbers, it's different. So yeah, I think something like this fits my personality a lot better than probably like the bigger.
I've always said, even from the day one, and I still tell you this, and I tell the world it, right? But it's obviously, from a standpoint of capacity, everything else, you're much more of a business development human than you are anything else. And of course, I don't mean that from a standpoint of not needing metrics and to be held accountable. I'm not saying you don't want held accountable. What I'm saying is you're very good at creating and keeping relationships. Which is a little bit more than business development than it is nurturing a lead and trying to close them from a sales cycle and a sales funnel process.
For sure. Yeah.
Obviously, you're doing all of that, right, in the role that you're in. But, as a company grows and scales, particularly in my eyes, I see moving a little bit more and more into that affiliate business development type of, because that's just where where I see you happy at the end of the day. Like, again, when we're going to places, you know me, dude, I'll talk, but at the same time, like it's hard for me. I get exhausted. It turns me, I get miserable, and it's like, I just don't want to do that anymore, even though I want to continue to add value. And most of the time for me, it's because I'm adding value. Yeah. And I'm helping people solve their problems. And, you go 15 hours and then you're on the road, you're 5 hours away. You just keynoted, which is a major high and a major low, and you're still helping people. It's hard to then turn into the business development human and just create relationships and connect and care. Yeah. I care, but it's hard to show that I care.
That dynamic, I think, has worked well for us.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you can give the value from the room, and then they can get more of like a personal touch and good follow-up side from me. And we've heard that from people. Like, we've been to these events and they're like, I love hanging out with you too.
Let me ask you that. Do you think having the rapport that you have with me, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not that we're selling me, we're selling our accounting services. And let's be very frank and clear about that. I don't fulfill. Our team fulfills. When there's a major problem and escalates, I'll help. And I can cut through noise and get the decisions. And so you're not selling me. But at the same time, how important is that you think as the sales rep and selling the service that you're selling, that you believe in it or connect with and can relate to the person that is, why someone may or may not be buying it, right? The service.
100%. I mean, it's proof that you need what we're doing, that it works. Like, it tells a really good story. You know, so much of sales is telling the right story, finding those things that they can relate to that they need. And so, like, we've seen it when you go and present, like, hey, I have this portfolio, I have these businesses, and people want to get to that. And you've done it in a way that has been supported by the accounting infrastructure, by the numbers, by very data driven. And a lot of people struggle with that. So when you're able to tell that story and be like, that's how I got here, like, it just really helps us to kind of put a face to it.
I guess too, what I think too is you being able to relate so well, because I mean, you were there when I got fired, right? You were there.
I was one that told you, don't do this. This is a bad idea.
Yeah.
You know, we were sitting at Bird's Foot and you're like, I'm gonna start this company. I was like, you're about to get married. Like, go back to public accounting. Like, you know, your ball's in the woods, by the way. But yeah, I mean, I was one of the ones too. And I think even that helped my decision to come here, because it was like, I saw it from that day to what it is now, that'd be like, yeah, I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think it just helps you relate to the conversation that you're having with other people, which is obviously really important. Relatability is huge in sales. And so it's like, if you're having a conversation, you kind of want to validate some of the things that I was saying. Like, did that dude really do that shit? Well, yeah. Like, I was there for it all. I wasn't working at the company that he runs, but you know, I was there when he couldn't go buy coffee, and, you know, and he was being an idiot with everything he does every day, like he always does. But, you know, it's funny to think about. Let me ask you a different question, right? It's like, you're also invested into SteelPoint. Why?
Believed in the vision.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I got to see enough of what you're doing, you know, what TJ was doing, and I saw the overall picture of it. Like, it kind of sparked this like entrepreneur level that I had, and it's definitely at more of like that fractional entrepreneur level, if that's even a thing. But to be able to contribute to something, and you know, ultimately, like, we want to grow this thing, the whole landscape of the businesses. And I think to me that was like a great way that I can potentially, you know, not have to work forever, right? Like, we can grow this thing, we can get it big enough, and then I think we're gonna get to that point where we're all like, we sell it, we decide whatever's next for it, and we're like, we're good, we did it.
I know what you want to do. So go golfing.
Probably go golfing. Yeah, you know, I don't know, whatever that is. Like, I think the bigger vision of it was like, I was totally bought into it. And so that was a good way for me to kind of, you know, make that official.
How hard was it for you, and how were you able to adjust? And this is really for all of you here, right? Like, you go to a new job, it's hard at the beginning, right? No matter whatever happens, because it's just unknown. When you came here from day one, it was known, and I told you, hey, dude, when I'm at work, I'm at work. And when I'm at work, I have fun. And so we have fun. There's always fun. But at the same time, like, you got to get your shit done. And like, I'm a different human when I'm working compared to when I'm on a golf course and whatever else. How hard was for that to adjust to be like, holy shit, I've never seen this side of this dude. And he's like, I mean, I don't even, like, because if you think about it day to day, we work in the same building. We could be here, both of us, all 5 days and maybe never even see each other.
Yeah. That part probably wasn't that hard, mostly because, like, truly it was separation of space, right? Like, we weren't sitting like this all day. Yeah. I think if we were probably like tangibly closer, that might have been a little bit harder. And even in those first couple months, like, I was still trying to figure out like what the hell was going on, you know, and there was so much like...
Well, I don't even think I was totally in that business yet. I wasn't even running Accruity yet.
Yeah, you're just kind of starting to. So we were figuring so much stuff out that like, we didn't really have the time to sit there and talk, you know what I mean? We've been doing this a year and a half, and like, we never have gone to like, let's go get lunch or something. You know what I mean? Like,
It is crazy.
Crazy. We've never done it.
We should get lunch soon.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
That'd be nice, buddy.
I think like same thing. Like, I've also learned from that of like, when I'm here, I got to be here, you know? And like, we're not just goofing around.
What do you think is the biggest life lessons? You maybe give me a top one or two that come to your mind, life lessons that you've learned since being the last year and a half of your life, specific to, you know, not other things you may or may not have learned and going on in personal life, but from a standpoint of coming to work at Accruity, coming and being inside of this totally different environment, right? Going from software, big companies to this.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing I've probably picked up is follow-up is the key. Like, consistent follow-up, like in the world that we work in from the entrepreneur side, from the real estate investor, I mean, the agents, like, they are all so focused on the day-to-day, and they're focused on the next deal, the next fire they got to put out, that we can give them a ton of value, we can create relationships, and there's just going to be these gaps where they're dealing with something else. But if you're consistently following up, you're always checking in, you're shooting them a call, giving them a text, send them an email, you make it a point to say, I know you're going to be at that event, let's link up, that the relationship part will overcome some of the time gaps, some of, just the inconsistencies that can be within the time frame of it. That like they're gonna come back and be like, yeah, oh yeah, there are those guys, and we did all that conversation. Like it does work.
Yeah.
So I think consistency of just the follow up on there, and then also, what I had to learn a lot too was like not to take those gaps of timing, those gaps of communication personal. Like
it's big.
It was not that they weren't.
Big, dude.
Oh yeah, like
dive into that more for me, please.
Yeah, like so when you came from the corporate world and the roles were similar, I did business development work at some of these large companies where like everything was very formal. You knew day one there'd be this RFP process, and you would know an answer.
Request for proposal.
Request for proposal from hey, I want you guys to be able to tell me how you do these things on these dates. We'll make a decision in this time. Here's our budget. You had all the information up front, so you knew what to execute on. In our world, we don't have any of that information. We don't have timelines. You don't have escalation paths. So like, if I can't get a hold of the person I'm trying to talk to, there is no boss of theirs to call. There is no, right-hand man to call it. You got to get to hold of that person. So that was where like, at first I struggled with like, why won't this person call back? Who can I go and bring this to now? And like, there was no answer. The actual answer was keep following up. Like you will get a call back, you will get a text back, you will get an answer. It might just take longer, but it would not be this formal process. That was a massive like learning curve and adjustment for me where I wanted things to be super structured, and it doesn't exist in this world.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like think about it. If someone's trying to get a hold of you, you're probably saying, call Leandra,
Sorry.
Call Leandra, or
100%.
I'll schedule you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that's the nature.
I mean, the reality is it's about importance, right? And so it's not that I don't want to say F them. It's not that I want to push them off the end or anything like that. It's just like, look, everyone has the same amount of hours in any ever given day.
Yeah.
And I push myself beyond belief in terms of doing things, and I push myself over capacity. And the reality of it is people in life, in my opinion, right, it's like they only care about what's going on in their world. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually just life. Same with me, right? I'm caring about what's going on in my world. I'm not, when I go home to put my kids to bed tonight, I'm not worrying about her. There's zero things that cross my mind. Well, I wonder how Alex is putting his baby to bed tonight. But if you needed to get a hold of me, you're not sitting here thinking, well, let me just make sure and think about, he's probably putting his kids to bed tonight. It's like, no, I need something. I'm gonna do this.
Yep.
And I think it, escalates, the more risk that I would say that you take on, which is the entrepreneurial world of the risk, because they're out there creating opportunity because they have so much risk that they need to mitigate in terms of money or time or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And so it's like, unfortunately, I would love to talk to every single person that ever wants to talk to me for half hour whenever they ever want it. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be who I am if I do that, because we're never actually going to get work done or personal life done or whatever makes me happy done. What would you say right now, like along those lines? Because again, I don't know. Yes, clearly I'm an entrepreneur, right? I've been one for 7 years now and, whatever else. But I don't want to stereotype this, but I do want to stereotype it in a way because, you kind of hit on it coming from corporate sales, which is much more B2B sales, right? Yeah. And this is B2B sales too, but it is much more like our main avatars and clients we serve have historically always been entrepreneurs, and they don't have anybody that's in their accounting department, and we're selling accounting. And so we sell directly to the entrepreneur. What would you say that you've learned is the biggest difference of the mindset and how they operate of an entrepreneur compared to a well-paid employee? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Someone that's a senior manager, a manager, or a director, and you're dealing with them, right? And so they have authority, but they're in a bigger company serving their role, and they have a boss and two other bosses and a defined role, where an entrepreneur doesn't have a defined role. They create their day every day. Yeah, it's the delegation. They're probably caught up in tasks that maybe aren't the most valuable use of their time, but there's no one else there to do them. So they've got to do those. When you're in the corporate world like that, you can delegate down, need you to respond to this, need you to get back to this person. You can get those tasks out. The entrepreneur, they're so caught up in, they've got to do all the work, And that's I think a challenge. That eats away the capacity. It's like you said, that's why you're having longer days. You're, struggling sometimes on time management, because whatever that big fire they got to put out is, like, they're jumping to it, So And I think I tell everybody this from an entrepreneurial perspective, and I've learned the hard way of pushing growth too hard and over hiring. I did it at City Life. We really, really pushed for growth. And then, post-COVID, it was awesome. And then post-COVID, the rates doubled overnight. And we were staffed to scale, and we couldn't, and we had, it was just over, and so I've always believed in that. And so I've never really had that problem. But it's funny because I saw an Instagram reel the other day. Couldn't think of the word. And it was just talking about, it's like people don't understand that, their money is the biggest issue for delegation. It's basically what it was around, because people don't know their money, which is what Accruity helps with. But more importantly, they don't want to spend it, and they don't realize spending the money, right? Say you want to go hire a $70,000 a year human, you can 10x that.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurs don't realize anything. They don't have that money to spend. And the reason, which is, right, I'm going to throw the plug to you here now to sell, baby, sell. The financial clarity solves those problems and actually allows you to see that you can go hire that person to delegate so that you can free up this to go 10x. And so like, how have you evolved in terms of how you believe in that and sell that and feel that, why that is so important?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen so many of the clients not making data-driven decisions, right? They're just, I feel like I should do this, so I'm going to do it. And they're not getting back into like, what have they shown or proven does work? Like, if you think about marketing spend, they always want to go jump into this new avenue of marketing spend, but it's like, you had a really good process working, like maybe invest more in that. Don't jump into something new. But they're not looking at the numbers to dictate that. Yeah. They're not making a decision off the data that says, Facebook ads performed really well for me. I'm going to keep doing that. Instead, it's like, I'm going to go put a billboard up, like something different, because they're just not analyzing it that way. And we've seen that too, where like with hiring, it's like, well, I don't know if I can afford this person, so I'm going to take on more of my own time to do these tasks, when, they could go probably get 1 or 2 or 3 more deals a month if they weren't doing these tasks, if they weren't stuck in their QuickBooks, or they weren't stuck, doing whatever admin stuff that they don't need to do, booking their own travel or some of these other things that, what could you do back with the time? But they don't know how to do that. So you got to go back into the data. You got to use that to make your decisions, and you can drive like a lot of efficiencies, both from a monetary and a time standpoint, that's going to be beneficial in your business.
I was on a coaching call literally this morning, and the CEO, on the call, small business, they were just talking through their frustrations around, they look at their bank account and it's 150K today, 50K tomorrow, 120K down to 30. And it has these major swings, and they really struggle and create anxiety inside of them because of these big swings. And so I was like, okay, cool. But like, why is that happening? I'm like, what's our break even? We didn't know our break even, right? You didn't know the break even. I'm like, okay, well then what's your payables process? What's your receivables process? And it was really no idea, right? It was like, well, we pay, if they have their money in, they have their invoice in by Thursday, we'll pay them every Friday for their subcontractors, things like that. The challenge is like, cool, the easiest solve in the entire world to allow the CEO to sleep at night is a couple of things. One, let's go to 13-week rolling cash forecast. And so we know when money's coming in and when money's coming out, and we have it at a job level and then guarantee level. So if you have credit cards, when the credit card payments coming out every month, when payroll's coming out every single week for 13 weeks, and you have jobs, and when you're invoicing, when you should collect and when you need to pay. And now you see, hey, it's a 50K this week and it's 130K next week, but we're not worrying about it because we know money's coming in that next week.
Yep.
Then the second piece was really like, okay, cool. And then once we have that, it's easy. Now we know what our spend is on a weekly basis. Let's take that by month, and now we know our monthly nut.
Yeah.
Right. Our monthly nut is essentially our break-even point. Okay, so hey, maybe it's 200 grand. And so we need to create 200 grand in cash in order to pay all of our overhead. Well, cool. Well, what's our margins? Our margins are 50%. Got it. Cool. Well, guess what? We need to sell $400,000 worth of goods to have a $200,000 margin, and that's what makes us break even. So now we know our goal is 400, right? 400,000 in revenue. Well, okay, how many customers creates 400,000 in revenue? Okay, maybe 30 customers creates 400,000 in revenue. Okay, cool. We now know we need to close 30 customers to create the $400,000 in revenue. Yeah. Okay, how many leads does it take to get 30 paying customers? Well, it might take, maybe 10% of all leads we get closes to get that. So, okay, we need 300 leads. Cool. What are we doing to get 300 leads? And now we solve cash flow problem on the back end of a CEO staying up all night because he's not sure he's going to have enough money to pay his bills tomorrow by understanding we need 300 leads next month.
And you can back into those numbers.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that's why financial clarity is so important to running a business and allowing people to sleep at night and all of the things. And it's not even, right, depending on your business size, that's not that hard to get there to the 300 leads, understanding what your revenue needs to be based on what your break-even analysis is, based on your guaranteed fixed overhead costs, right? And then you have variables in there, which again, we're not going to have an accounting lesson here. I don't even know if you could give an accounting lesson. You're the sales guy, not to, hey, Jeff!
Pull Jeff in for that.
Jeff's going to go for 40 minutes on that topic.
Yeah.
Boop, 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 boop. So what, maybe last words of wisdom here from you from a standpoint of like, people that are out there listening to this that are scared to take a step forward, take a big risk, and there's risks inside of risks, of course. In my opinion, this risk was like, oh my God, I'm going to go work for, one of my best friends. And if this doesn't work out, I have a chance to lose my best friend.
Yeah. And my job.
And your job. But you can always get another job, and you can always get another best friend. Probably want to be hard with me to get someone better, but it's irrelevant. We're not going to say that out loud. Jake, make sure you cut that. Make sure you say he actually says I'm the best in the world. He can never replace me. Thanks. But anyways, what advice? Give the advice on for somebody out there that is like just scared to make a move.
I think you just still have to like be yourself. I think within this role, you've definitely allowed me to be myself. I don't think you've ever asked me to try to be someone, someone that I'm not though, right? And be able to have someone that's like, I know the skills you have, I know where you can shine at, and then finding the ways to tap into those.
I definitely try to push you hard in subtle ways. I'm not just saying I need more.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then but that's part of even the balancing of it all. When to push. It's that old saying, like the coach probably pushes.
The coach that knows how to slap the guy in the butt or scream at the guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think you've known how to do that, which helps. And there's definitely times where it's like, you need more and you let me know. And I understand that, and times where it's like, same thing when we're crushing it.
Can you remember a time, actually really quick, where you were the most mad at me purely from a business thing?
Yes. And we sat in, we talked after a round of golf for like probably 2 hours.
Are we allowed to say it on here now? Why you were mad?
I can't even remember why I was fully mad about it now. I think they're like, we just fundamentally disagreed on something. And I think you kind of put a hard stance down on like, I'm not even hearing you out on this, like, no. And then, we talked it out. We talked it out for like 2 hours. I think we sat there, we had a couple of beers, and we're like, and ultimately we came to like an agreement on just, okay, this is how we can do better each other. Like we can do better. And I think you still, like I said, allow me to be myself, the goods and bads of that. I mean, as an example, I know for sure, like my emotions are always very easy to read. Like when I'm into it and I'm happy, and if like I'm not, and so you've definitely pushed me to be like, you need to not have that face on all the time of like, if it's not your way, like
particularly as a leader,
for sure. Yeah. And like, I've got to maybe sometimes think too before I'm like so quick to react to things. And you've definitely tried to push me a little bit in that side. And also I've watched you where like, there's times where I'm like, oh, he's going to freak about this, calmly respond to something. So like, it's just learning, right? And I think pushing each other in the right ways, learning from each other from those things. I hope there's things you've picked up from me of like, oh yeah, that's a great way to do these things. But still at the end of the day, like we're being ourselves.
And anybody that's able to communicate the way you are, I admire so much, right? So I try to surround myself with guys like you guys, because I believe wholeheartedly communication is what solves every problem at the end of the day. Right? You can solve any problem if you're willing to communicate, right? Like at the end of the day, and guys like you're sales reps, salesmen, good at talking, good at creating relationships, good at sales, naturally more, right? And so it's like, that's a great quality to have. Now, if we could take that and dial that in, but there's so much to learn from that, because again, I just, that ability or desire, probably more than anything, solves the most problems ever, because you just got to be willing to pick up the damn phone and call somebody, right? At the end of the day.
And be ready to not have them answer 10 times, but then answer on the 11th and then get it done.
It's almost like they literally don't even know that they ignored you 10 times. They don't care. No. And it's just like, Yeah. So to your point, that is a great one too. Let's end on that, I think, right? Is, just reiterating the fact of like, look, and I think I saw a post from TJ recently, literally it was about whatever, the money's in the, Jake, what did he say? Something's in the follow-up, right? The money or whatever.
I think the money's in the follow-up, yes.
Yeah, the money's in the follow-up. I think it was what he kind of had led with, which is the truth of,
Yeah.
You know, they're not offended. And so it's actually funny now. Sales reps are always reaching out to me to sell stuff. And I say, I like that message, or I like that. And I just always feel respectful. Say, I'm not interested right now. Don't ever follow up or follow up. Yeah. Or I really appreciate you following up.
Yeah.
Because I understand how hard it can be. How, you know, hearing no 1,000 times and then just getting ignored is really hard. So you've got to follow up.
We've heard that a lot recently because the people we're talking to themselves are in sales. And they've said like,
entrepreneurs, we're all selling.
They're like, oh, I appreciate that you've not let me stop. Yeah. Like you've continued to follow up, and like now is the right time. And like if we didn't do that, they probably would have just fallen off.
And I do think too, there's ways to set yourself up for that success, such as like asking, hey, do you mind if I follow up? Hey, I know you're not interested right now. Can I follow up in a month? Or hey, if I don't hear from you, you're going to review this. I'm just going to literally call you every single week until you answer. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Right? Like things like that. And then they'll tell you what you want.
Yep.
Then a lot of times it's a lot easier to do that follow-up. And then they're a lot more receptive and not just totally blowing you off.
Yeah, you can work off their cadence, their style,
Yeah.
for sure.
I appreciate having you. Appreciate
Absolutely, man.
being a business partner with you. Appreciate all you do for Accruity.
For sure.
All of our clients. Now get back to work, dude. Appreciate y'all. It's never going to be perfect. Let's go.